It is a monumental week of European action in football as we see the Champions League quarterfinals, the last quarterfinals of this era of format. We're going to go through every single game, our reviews, our thoughts, and our predictions. Let's get straight into it. You know the drill. Let's get straight into it. The first game we want to discuss, some are saying is the big one, Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. One key difference as well to mention, Bayern Munich will have no fans in attendance because of a previous issue, and basically they got a fine. Reece, let's come to you first. How are you feeling? One of the biggest weeks in Arsenal's recent history. How are you feeling about the match, and how do you think this one's going to play out?
Nervous, even though I don't feel the need to be nervous. Arsenal are rightly so tipped to be the big favourites over two legs. No fans in attendance for Bayern Munich is a big thing. Arsenal will go into it confident, let's be honest. I think they've won the last 6 home games in a row. They're looking confident, they're playing well. It is a hard one. I believe statistics show that they're 22.9% likely to make it to the final, Arsenal, which is not the favourite, but still. I think the big issue Arsenal have is I don't think the Bayern away fans is really that much of a huge thing. It's the fact that Bayern Munich now have nothing to lose. The title's done. They're out of the German Cup. This is all they got. For a club like Bayern Munich, that's very rare for them to be hanging their hopes on just this right now, And Harry Kane's going to be returning. I think in the Premier League, the only teams he scored more goals against than Arsenal are actually Leicester and Everton. So he's going to be up for it. He's going to be lethal. They've got Goretzka. They've got Kimmich. They've got a great squad all the way through. They've got Gnabry, who's going to be returning to Arsenal, who played with Arteta when he was the captain of the side. It's a big game for both sides. Arsenal, I think, need this game to stay competitive for the league. You can't throw yourself out of a tournament to put all your eggs in one basket, because that never works. For Arsenal, they have to do this to keep their momentum going. And they've got a great first leg opportunity to do it. Even without the fans there, they have to win this first leg. They have to. It's a different type of game to FC Porto. We knew FC Porto were going to be tough. Arsenal do not like playing the FC Portos. Bayern Munich's a good opportunity for them. We don't know what Bayern Munich team is going to turn up, but still, Arsenal have a great opportunity to progress. I know I haven't really answered your question, but it's a great opportunity for us.
Yeah.
And it's a good opportunity to show if we're serious, you have to beat the Bayern Munichs to get where you want to be. So.
Yeah, I do just want to say, I think I disagree, though, with a couple of things you said. I think the fans not being there for Bayern, I think, is a huge factor. Like, this is such a rare opportunity for Arsenal at a big stage of Europe. And this isn't something teams normally get. Like, this isn't an opportunity teams normally get in the Champions League to have a massive home tie with 0 away fans. And we talk about the downside of Arsenal, the potential weakness is their lack of European experience, lack of European heritage, whatever you want to call it. And not having away support on a night like this is monumental for Arsenal. And I know we talk about, you don't want to, sacrificing that for the league, but I don't quite think that's the case. Like, at the end of the day, it's a huge game. It's the first time you've been in the competition for 7 years. You need to win this game at home, and it is a must-win in my opinion. And as for Bayern, like you said, they've got nothing to lose, but I think they have. They've got a lot to lose. They've got their pride. They've got literally the weight of this club on their shoulders. They've bottled the league in Leverkusen have been good, but Bayern Munich winning the league is a major upset regardless. They've bottled the cup to a 3rd-tier side. This is everything for Bayern. This is all they've got left. So I think they've got everything to lose. So I do think they'll be up for it, but no fans is a big advantage.
It's a pressure game for both sides for very different reasons. And it's how they deal with that pressure. Look, the last 3 times we've played Bayern Munich, it's not been good. 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. So that's what, an aggregate of 15-3.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching so far. I will be very quick in this. All we ask is, could you hit that subscribe button for us? It helps us more than you know. We're trying to grow the channel. I personally am setting a target of 500 subscribers by the end of the season. If you could really help us out, that'd be great. Right, back to the video.
That's poor, but that's what, when we last played them, which was a good, 6-7 years ago. So times have changed, things have changed. I think I wasn't convinced with Bayern Munich's performance against Lazio. I thought they'd beat Lazio, but they weren't convincing. Lazio are a very poor side. Well, not very poor, but not a great side in terms of the competition standing. So they have to up their game for this. They've got the players to do it. Many of them are multiple winners of leagues and trophies, and also, a lot of that squad were there when they won the Champions League in 2020. So they have the chance to do it. And like you said, they can't afford to come back red-faced because their fans are on them already for what's been a poor season. And this could be Harry Kane going a trophyless season, which will be unheard of, bearing in mind he's at the best team in Germany by quite some margin.
I have to say, I think it is a must win for Arsenal. If you want to go and win this competition, this is the game you have to win because you're at home. Bayern fans, when they went to United early on in the season, there was videos going around. They make some noise, so they weren't going to be a team that It's sort of like you get some away fans that just aren't great. They don't make a lot of noise. They don't travel in numbers. That's not the case for Bayern. That's why it's, I think, a bigger opportunity for Arsenal, and you might not be able to get through on after one game, but you can also hinder yourself from getting through, because if you go to Bayern with a 1-1 draw, for example, you're massively the underdogs then, and I just don't see you going through if you don't win. It's quite as simple as that. And if you're talking about the Bayern sort of mentality at them, they're on the bottom of the floor, whereas Arsenal are sort of top. Like they couldn't be much higher. I think they will be. I think the only way of getting higher is battering Bayern. Really, it's one of them sort of situations where Arsenal have been very good defensively and in attack in the Premier League. That's why they're the highest scoring and least conceding and top of the league. You have to win, and if you perform a bit like you did against Porto. I know Porto's a completely different team, but it does show nerves in the Champions League. So if you have that could be your downfall. It's the sort of lack of knowing how to play it, even if you are the better team at this current moment than Bayern.
I think that's
That
a
could be
massive point, by the way. Sorry to jump in. I think that's a huge point around this home fixture being first, because we have seen, and this is the downside of Arsenal. I said it before. It is a fact of this lack of European experience, whatever you want to call it, and you struggled against Porto. 0 shots on target away to Porto, who Porto aren't even the best team in their league anymore. So we're talking about Bayern being off par and off their peak, and they absolutely are. But you played an off-peak Porto and you struggled. So that's the red flag for Arsenal. But again, you've been gifted, whatever you want to call it, not gifted, but you've got this huge opportunity now where you've got them at home in the first game. You set the tone, you set the narrative for this fixture. Whereas if you were away to Bayern in the first leg, I'd feel like you've not got much chance. But I wouldn't be that shocked to see Bayern win. But now you've got the chance to batter them.
I think a good way to look at it, George, what you're saying here is City's run last season when they played Bayern and when they played Real Madrid. The first we had at home against Bayern in the first leg, we turned up, we beat them 3-0.
Yeah.
The second leg, it wasn't done and dusted, but City could set up completely differently than what they'd need to away from home at some of these clubs. And then when we went to Real Madrid in the semi-final, we were away first. That was where we had to be compact, can't let this game get ahead of us, and then take it back home with the 1-1 draw, take it back to our own place, then to finish off teams. So that's what I think Arsenal do need to do and realise. The first leg is massive because they're at home. They have to win. Simple as that. For me, I think we need to also talk about players here. One, I think the thing for Arsenal is Saka actually fit? Because he missed the game. He didn't go with the England squad. We all went, oh yeah, but he'll be starting for City against City. Sorry, he played. No shock there.
Yeah.
Then it sort of like comes off the 70th minute. Doesn't play versus Luton. Plays against Brighton. Comes off. Is he fully fit? Can you risk having a non fully fit player in this competition at this time?
Well, here's what will happen with Saka. He'll start, he'll play about 70, 80 minutes, drop a stinker, and then he'll limp off. That's not a prediction, that's a spoiler.
Quite
Yeah.
harsh, to be honest.
And let's not forget, Rice and Havertz are one yellow card away from missing the next leg if they get booked. So yeah, you can't afford to lose either one of those either at the moment.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the next fixture. Another big game. The big fixtures don't stop. PSG versus Barcelona. A historically big match. We've seen some historic matches from this tie. The big comeback that everyone remembers. But the reality is, this is two teams, for me, that aren't at their best in terms of form, in terms of what's going on with the clubs. So I think it's a really interesting matchup. Like, yes, PSG still top of the league, still 10 points clear as always, but they are not a good side at the minute, in my opinion. That might be harsh, but I don't think they're that great. Compare that to Barcelona, they're 8 points off Madrid. Again, not been that good. How do you guys see this one playing out, and who do you think are the favourites in this?
PSG are the favourites. They should be. They should win this over 2 legs. Barcelona are okay. They've got great players, but again, they're not who they were. They're not, the tactical masterclass they once were. PSG with Kylian Mbappe should beat them. They should. We also know that PSG are just as capable of imploding. So, as we saw when these two have played each other before. But yeah, it's a strange one, this one, because it's two teams that should be doing better, but aren't doing, in the sense that, what our expectations are of them. But yeah, I think Barcelona will be a bit concerned in the first leg, because I think PSG do have the players and the atmosphere to get through. But you're not going to be shocked if Barcelona turn it around. You've got to expect goals over both legs in this.
Yeah, I think exactly. There's going to be goals in this game. I think this probably might be the highest scoring game out of the four left. But I'm a bit torn on who I think's favourites to go through. I think Barca being at home in the second leg does add to that. Maybe if you went off just an even kill, if it was a neutral ground, you would say PSG. That would solely be the Mbappe factor. But Mbappe can't do it all on his own. You got to remember this. I think they have an okay team, but I think both of these sides have got to look at it sort of. They're both in, I think, a weird position for the club, because one, Barca have got Xavi leaving at the end of the season as their coach. That was early confirmed. Is he sort of, has the pressure got too much for him? And this is a huge game. This is where the pressure mounts up massively. And then you've probably, I don't think it's been fully announced yet, but we all know Mbappe's going to Real Madrid. So it's kind of like PSG, I think, without Mbappe, do not that. There's nothing there that you're that worried about. They have some good players, but they don't have any great players. And then if you look at Barca, I think they've got Lewandowski scores so many goals. You got Gundogan, who captain of the treble winners last season. You got Cancelo, who on his day can be absolutely world class, but could also drop an absolute stinker defensively and get torn apart. So it is a weird one. I think a big factor you got to look at is the big players who are not playing. Hakimi is out for, I believe, just the first leg through bookings. You've got De Jong and Gavi out for Barca, who at least one of them would be starting that midfield. So there's sort of, they're not the full strength sides here. And I think being at home, PSG once again, I say you have to win just to get through, but it doesn't mean away from home they can't go and get some goals quite easily against Barcelona, because I don't think they're the best defensively.
No, neither team are really. I mean, they've got strength and weaknesses all in one go. I think both goalkeepers are going to have to be at the top of their game with the strikers they're going to have to face. Yeah, I think Dembele could have a big game for PSG, having come from Barcelona. When he's fit, he is a very, very good player. I'm looking forward to seeing Zaire Emery play. You know, he's a young lad. I think could have the game of his life. Marquinhos is also reliable. Skriniar's reliable. Mendes is a good player. There's good players at the back there, but they'll concede. You know, I think Barcelona as well have a risk of, I think 7 players are on a booking, 1 booking away from a suspension. I don't expect all 7 to get booked, but if they do, they're going to be lucky to have a squad to even play the next leg. Because they're not.
League, you expect some of them to be booked.
Yeah,
really, don't you?
I think Yamal's a good player. I think Rafinha could cause problems. You know, De Jong is always good. It's quite evenly matched, this game, and I think this one deserves probably a bit more credit than it's probably getting. But I think PSG should have too much from at the end of the day. They do have those players, I think, that can get you out of a hole a little bit more than what Barcelona might do. Because I think if you nullify Lewandowski, they might be a little bit limited.
Yeah. No, I agree. Really tight matchup. Again, very interesting. I want to watch it. For me, I disagree on the PSG favourites. Again, I've not looked at the odds, but I think Barcelona are favourites here. I just think, as Jamie touched on it with some of the players, better team overall. You've got Mbappe, who they know is going. There's a reason Mbappe's leaving PSG. There's a reason they've spent, what, 2 billion euros and not won a Champions League. They are bottle jobs. It's as simple as that. And you don't get any credit for winning the French league by 10 points. I'm sorry. You really don't. So Barcelona have been there and done it. They've got a manager who's been there and done it. And you look through the spine of the team, as you said, you know, Cancelo, Koundé, midfield, Gundogan, striker, Lewandowski. They've got the spine. And for me, I think they'll get through against PSG. Let's move on.
Oh, go on. Luis Enrique, well, he did it with Barcelona. So it's very evenly matched from both.
Yeah, no, fair point. Let's move on to the next fixture. Again, quite another intriguing battle here. Atletico Madrid versus Dortmund. 2 sides who many wouldn't have backed to even get this far, which maybe sounds harsh, but I do think it's the reality. So, I mean, how do you guys see this one playing out? I do think, again, it's a clash of styles. It's very tough to call. Who wants to take a punt?
Yeah, I'll go. I think both were very happy with the draw because, let's be honest, these are the 2 weakest sides left. Even with Bayern's crap form, they're still comfortably above Dortmund, and Atletico are below Barca and below Real Madrid in the league, and they're not even third where they normally are. So actually, I think both teams are very happy with this. But yeah, the styles are Atletico Madrid are going to defend well. Dortmund are more of an attacking side. So really, I expect the game to be played in probably one half of the pitch, and Atletico will go on and have their few counters, and it's just if they finish them. The likes of Griezmann, Depay, Morata, if any one of them have their shooting boots on, I think they could wipe the floor with Dortmund. I don't think that's gonna happen because I've seen all 3 of these players sort of can be hit and miss. Morata, Jordan, you've experienced that. He'll just be offside, most likely. But it's a very interesting game. You've got to remember, though, I say, you know, Dortmund are one of the worst sides. They did go and beat Bayern away. So it shows they do have some fight in them. And you got to remember, Atletico Madrid, I keep saying Real Madrid in my Atletico, did knock out Inter, who are top of the Italian league. So, and they're comfortably at the top of the league. So I think they both show they've got a bit of fight about them. I just think these have the best opportunity to get in the semi-final. When you'd go with the draw before, you'd be like, right, these 2 won't get through, but because they've played each other, one of them will be.
Yeah, I agree. I think this comes down to heritage again, European. Like Simeone's been there and done it. Like he's gonna, you know what he's gonna do. He's gonna shit house. He's gonna sit up. They're gonna be down on the floor every minute. And for me, I don't think Dortmund are ready for that. We've called Dortmund serial bottle jobs. The Spurs of the German league, many have called them, and I just don't like. They have been good. Don't get me wrong. They have got threats in attack. They have beat Bayern. They've done all of this stuff, but I don't think they've got enough personally to get past an Atletico Madrid side who know they've been here, they've done it, they know what they're doing, they've been to finals, they know how to rub an opposition like this up the wrong way. And I still think it'll be a tight game. Don't get me wrong, but I do think Atletico Madrid have been there and done it, and they will find a way. It won't be pretty. It will probably be two ugly games, but I do think Atletico Madrid will find a way through this tie, one way or another.
You say been there and done it, but they've not won it. They might have got to finals, but that was some years ago. Like they're not. They're not.
Same manager though.
I don't think they're a great team. That's what I think. I think they probably are second worst team, and Dortmund being the worst.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can say really the heritage is there, because you've got to remember, if you want to go back certain enough, Dortmund got to a final and lost to Bayern. So it's things like that. I don't see playing a factor. I understand the playing style of them, going down every 5 seconds, frustrating the team. I don't think it's going to come down to the heritage, like when you talk about Real Madrid, when you talk about Arsenal maybe not having it. I don't think it's anything like that, personally.
I'm not saying they're going to win it, but like, I mean, I could be wrong on the stats. Maybe I'm wrong, but Atletico Madrid have been to the later stages of this competition more times, particularly in my mind, in recent memory, than Dortmund have. So I just think they've got a bit more of that ability, or they've handled the pressure better at this stage, is what I would say, even though they've not won it. But jury's open on that. Reece, any more comments from you on this game?
Yes, it's definitely a game of the two unfancied sides, isn't it? I think Atletico know how to defend, and Borussia Dortmund do not. And I think both teams are capable of winning, but both teams are also capable of chucking it themselves. I think that's just what they're able to do. I think Dortmund need to go into this game knowing that their strength is in attack, and don't be disappointed if they lose 1-0. But the problem is that Atletico are going to go straight to Dortmund and defend with their lives. So it's such a hard game for both teams, because both teams can't let either score. As silly as that sounds, they can't, because the advantage is in that place. Yes, Atletico beat Inter Milan, and to be honest, it's not much of a shock that they did beat Inter Milan. Inter Milan are great, but I think they're not as good as we all seem to think. They did well to overcome Inter Atletico, and I think that does help though. Whereas I think, was it Dortmund only overcome PSV? No disrespect to PSV, but Dortmund also came out of the group of death. So you have to give them credit where credit's due. I think this would be decided in the second leg, and I think Atletico will win the first leg. Only just. Both teams are so capable of imploding. Whether Hummels was fantastic against Bayern Munich, but I wouldn't be shocked if they went and scored an own goal. It's such a hard game, and I think it's a real big test for both. So good luck to them both. I think whoever gets through deserves it, which is the standard.
Yeah, agreed. Right, let's get on to the finale. What many are calling the big one: Madrid, Real Madrid versus Man City. Jamie, obviously we've got to start with you. You're always confident as a City fan, and you have a right to be after the sort of last 5-10 years. A nerve setting in, and is there any doubts in your mind that you're going to get through this tie?
Yes, there is doubts, because you're playing Mr. Champions League in Real Madrid, aren't you? Let's be honest. The sort of reassurance I have in my side is we've played them. This will be third year in a row we played them. Last season, we tore them apart at the Etihad. Sort of, we won that game in that 20 minutes at the Etihad, where I think Vinicius Junior went up to Ancelotti and said, "How can we play football?" It's sort of, we dominated them that much, and I don't think the side has dominated Real Madrid like that. But that does mean they're going to come out for revenge, because that's what they do, and they know how to play this competition. I think I'm happy that we're at Real Madrid first. I think if we were away, if we were at home first, that's where I'd be a bit more worried. But I think we can easily go over there, take a point, and we'll be very, very happy. The problem I have is Real Madrid have had an 8-day, 9-day rest. In that time, we've played 2 extra games. That's not good for, fitness levels, especially this time of year when we're competing for the title. We don't have a 8-point gap on second. We're in third behind by 1 point. Every game means so much. We can't rest players, and we've picked up a little few injuries here and there, more so in defence with Walker, Ake. Stones now has come back, but he was out for a tiny bit, and Gvardiol went off at half time feeling something. So, that's not reassuring to go and then play Real Madrid away next. So I wouldn't say I'm, absolutely confident. But overall, I am expecting us to go through. But it's not a massive, oh yeah, we're going through, we're definitely going through, because you just can't ever say that against Real Madrid. And anyone who does go, we're going to beat Real Madrid, no problem, over 2 legs, you've probably not watched football before, because you don't know what they do at any point.
Yeah, I think this is another really interesting one. I think it makes the tie more interesting as well from a neutral perspective that Madrid are at home first. Because I think, as we touched on earlier, if City were at home, you've always got that threat of, could they go and do it again? Could they do the 4-0 whatever again? And then it's a dead tie for the second leg. But given Madrid are home, I see this being it's going to be set, however it plays out, it will be set up perfectly for the next leg. I think the big one you've already touched on is Walker being out. Like, Rico Lewis is probably the most likely to start at right back.
I'd
Genka,
say Akanji.
do you reckon
Akanji? He's bigger and quicker. Lewis is better playing on the ball, but if you got to remember, you've got to defend away to Real Madrid. So at home, Lewis might play there, but away, it's got to be Akanji.
Yeah, a bit more experience, obviously, as well. But either way, I think Vinicius Junior against either one of those, it's not Kyle Walker at the end of the day, and that's kind of the main point. I think that's going to be a problem. You've got Bellingham, obviously, still very much in form. I think it's going to be a good game, really, really good game, and I'm struggling to call it, particularly in this first leg. I think City will find a way overall, but what a tie we've got on our hands here. And again, we've criticised recently, particularly in the Arsenal game, the performances of Haaland, Foden, and Pep's obviously rested some of those players. Do you think Pep will rest any players for this game, or try and be clever and do some tactical rotation BS that he likes to do for a big game? Because that is a concern, I think.
This isn't a game to rest players. We've got to remember, we've got Luton at home next. That's the game you rest players. No disrespect to Luton, it's like Arsenal did.
Yeah,
that's the game to rest players. You don't rest players in the Champions League quarter final away to Real Madrid. You're asking to get battered.
Yeah. Well, let's phrase that differently then. Will he try and be tactically clever and rotate or put in someone unexpected in an unexpected position? That's probably a better question.
He may go defensively. It might be the same as sort of against Arsenal, where he'll play Rodri and Kovacic as sort of 2 CDMs, because the whole point would be, don't concede many to Real Madrid. We've got good enough players in Foden, De Bruyne, Haaland up front to score goals. I'd be surprised. I'd actually be really surprised, and I think it'd be wrong if he starts Doku as well. I'd play Grealish. Grealish is much better defensively. These games are the ones, why we won it last year is because we didn't lose away from home. We didn't lose at all, but we didn't lose away from home. That was the big key in us going through and winning.
Yeah. Reece, anything from your side on this game?
No, I mean, let's be honest. This is what you watch the Champions League for, innit? the two best teams. I think the best thing about this round in general is that all the ties are teams that I would say are pretty evenly matched in terms of what they're looking for. There's no golfing class really. Again, both teams are the example of they could lose one of their best players and still be great teams. That's why this is such an intriguing tie. The freak result of what happened a couple of years ago with that late turnaround, I think City have one, learned their lessons, and two, learned how to deal with such a incident like this ever happening again. I think
I'm still traumatized by that.
I don't think Pep will change anything. I think he'll only change if injuries are there. So I think if Guardiola doesn't start, he will have to play Akanji on the left and Lewis on the right. But I don't think that'll matter too much. I think Lewis is more than capable. I think it'll just be a tactical battle again, probably, you know, a chess match, nullifying each other's strengths and, you know, trying to exploit the weakness.
Let's hope it's not another chess match. We've seen it.
I think this is a better kind of chess battle where I think there's going to be goals. This won't be two teams afraid to lose. I think this is going to be two teams knowing that they're going to be there to win. If you ask City, would they rather go all out in the Champions League and not worry about winning a Premier League? Probably, I think they would. And I think they've got the best chance to retain it. Again, they're the favourites for a reason by quite some margins. So I think it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. You know, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. So yeah, I think this will be a score draw in the first leg, and I think it'd be a real interesting battle to see, you know, who it goes. Because let's be honest, I think even if when it goes to the Etihad, Real Madrid will still fancy themselves.
Well, on that note, we've now covered all the games. Let's wrap it up very quickly with our predictions of who's going to make it through each round. I'll kick things off. I think Arsenal are going to find a way. I think Man City will find a way. I think Barcelona will go through for reasons I've said, and I think Atletico Madrid will go through. Jamie?
I'll go City, like I sort of said already. I do agree with Arsenal. I think Bayern are in terrible form. I think Barca will go through. I think that's a tough one. That's the toughest one to call. And I'm actually going to go with a Dortmund going through. I think the away game second, home game second will get them through.
Reese?
City will go through. PSG will go through. I think Atletico will scrape through. Potentially a penalty win again. I think Arsenal will go through, but I think they're going to be in for a real tough ride in the away leg if they're not comfortable.
Cool. All right, there you have it. We have had our opinions. Now it's time for yours. As always, hit us up. Make sure you're following us on all platforms and get involved in the conversation. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.